and that's kind of what the topic of the chapter is all about. They want to dive in, like they're trying to talk about and explain how important planning is. I know. So I know some a lot. There are a lot of people out there who just want to dive in and do things. Like they just want to. They're chomping at the bit and they want to dive in and just go for it. And like I have dealt with people who are like, okay,
I'm guilty of this a lot.
well, yeah, you are, and I say that as someone who has taught you.
But I'm very different with my clients. So be fair with me on this.
I am being fair with you on this. This is
I am very much a shoot first, aim next, and later see if there should have been consequences I should have known about before I started shooting.
this is I feel like there's a term for that. The like rangefinder type thing, you shoot to make sure you're at least close to target. Adjust.
So in the army, when I was a kid, the concept was fire, ready, aim.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So there's times to and just like they had in the plan, right? There are times to be quiet, and in the flick of a switch, there's times to burn it down.
Yes.
And I was thinking of I can't remember who it was. Christo was talking about it, and I can't remember who he referenced. But there's the concept of uh, somebody who's there's when you're planning, right? You have people that are getting in the plan, giving helpful use of full information. Then you have those idiots. They're just always contradictory, right? They're just always playing devil's advocate, and that's their excuse, which I do a lot. But they come up with they're just doing it to hear themselves and to entertain themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's let me think about this.
Contradictory. You were just contradictory.
Yeah, contrarian. That's the word.
That's the word I was looking for. Good job. You're so smart. That's what I love about you.
the
You really raise the level of my friends with IQ.
I have no idea what my IQ is, so good luck.
Yeah. Don't find out. It's just going to embarrass me.
Anyway, um so there are two types of contrarians, I think. There are the types who are just contrarians to be contrarians, like you were talking about. The types who they just want to be
They do it to be a center of attention or to kind of piss on the parade, or they just don't like somebody and they're going to be contrarian. There's a whole form of basis for it, ever from ego to not ever learning how to socialize correctly in the first place.
well, and one of the interesting aspects of that is sometimes they don't know that they are doing that. They may not like someone and they may be constantly being contrarian with that person, so constantly speaking out against them.
Yeah, that's possible, but that's not the kind of contrarian we're talking about. That's just a better relationship.
No, I don't think that's just a bad. I don't think that's a bad relationship. I think that's just somebody who's immature.
Okay, that I'll go with that.
Because like it requires maturity for you to recognize I don't like this person. That's why I'm. That's why whenever they say something, things come pop into my head, and you need maturity to be able to sit there and be like, all right, this thing popped into my head. I don't like this person. I'm not going to necessarily say what I'm going to say. Now, that's like I said, that of course, a lot of maturity. And some people just don't have it. But then there's that type of contrarian, and then there's actually probably three contrarians. Maybe there's your type of contrarian where you like to say negative things to stir up the pot to make things interesting. You're not necessarily like you are not necessarily the type of contrarian who is trying to stop things from happening. You're just saying things just for the fun of it, really is really what I would.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I guess we could call that kind of contrarian an idiot.
I no, 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 more of like a jester. um
Okay, that's a nice way to say it.
yeah, it's more of a you're more jester. But then and that's fine, like that's fine because I will do that too. Honestly, I think that is a quality that people who were in the military at some point develop and carry with them throughout their entire life.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of military people who do that, and a lot of that is because we have to deal with a lot of BS, and so we have to like joke past the BS.
Yeah, I think it's a self defense mechanism to realize something really bad may be around the corner if it's not flushed out. And if you can bring a little bit of humor to it, you can make something really ugly sound kind of less ugly, but bring out the need to talk about it.
Exactly, exactly. And on top of that, one of the interesting aspects of being that type of contrarian is you can start getting people to laugh. And when you can get people to laugh, like you start bringing together the team. That's what's interesting too about it. Um,
Yeah.
but then there's the third type of contrarian, and these are the useful types. They're the ones who sit there and are pro mission, pro whatever, but they sit
Mhm.
there and they think of the problems that can arise, and they sit there and they ask, okay, what about this? What about that? What about these things? And I find, honestly, I find a lot of programmers will fall into this category. And the reason why programmers fall into that category is because we have seen these issues before. Like we often, one of the big things, or one of the biggest issues that I always run across whenever I'm working with a new client or new designer is, what about error states? Like
In
we,
edge cases.
yes, like we don't know. Very often what happens is designers and product owners have a pie in the sky view of the way something should operate. Like they're very optimistic, and that's great, cool. You absolutely should be optimistic. But the problem is that they the designers and product owners will miss error states. Like they'll miss what happens when we have an empty screen. What happens if we um, forget that, or what happens if we get bad data back? Like what do we display? What do we show the user? And designers will be like, oh, I didn't think of that. It's like, exactly, we need to think about that stuff. So it's the job, it tends to be the job of the programmer, because we deal with all of that, the problems, to think of those situations. Because the problem, what ends up happening, and I speak very much from experience on this, programmers are the ones who get blamed for bugs, and they really do. I know a lot of product owners, I know a lot of people will sit there and be like, oh no, like they're we're not blaming. It's like, no, I have seen too many times where the question becomes, well, why didn't you take care of that? Why didn't you think of that before? It's like, well, because we didn't, because we were like, you put a tight deadline on us. We brought up an issue and you just swept it under the rug. We like there's a whole sequences that lead up to that, and this actually kind of leads back into the planning and everything. So what one of the so programmers have to become those contrarians, and there is a stereotype in it, of many programmers, of like the disgruntled programmer. And to be honest, that stereotype is very real. Like, I see it all the time, and I will sometimes be a disgruntled programmer. And all of that has to do, and all of that comes back to the fact that we didn't plan properly when we were building out things. Like when we were building out a screen or something like that, and the just the product wasn't planned out properly, and we didn't bring up those issues. And so when we come in like to a fresh new project and we start bringing up those issues, and like I seriously have had product owners who would be sitting in a meeting, and all of the programmers would be talking to the product owner saying, we need this issue, we need a decision on this. And the product owner gets like so like I literally had a product owner get so angry and so upset that he turned off, dropped off the call mid meeting.
In mid sentence.
And the thing is, like, we were constantly bringing up issues to him, and it's like, look, you got to understand that we're trying to plan these things out properly, we're trying to do all of this. And a lot of this like kind of goes, like I say, it goes back to the principle and what and everything that we're talking about here in planning. And like, it all begins and all starts with us asking the question, what is the mission? What are we trying to accomplish? Like, what do we want? And to start like planning properly, you need to get clarity on what you want. Like, what are you?
You'll laugh about this because no, you know, you're gonna laugh because you know me. Um, Most of my best experiences with customers and even in testimonials and stuff is they'll end up saying the one of the best things about Phil is he made me stop and slow down for a minute to go through and really plan out the project in the beginning and set us up for success. And the reason I say you're going to laugh is because you imagine me stopping for anything and then do planning, right? But with my customers, I do because this will this will fail any software projects, right? Or and I'd say probably any engineering project at all, no matter what it is. Poor planning and even more, not learning the voice and intent of your customer.
So honestly, it'll fail anything. Like, you can't even go into marketing and trying to market your product without a plan. You can't.
Oh, that's the biggest plan there could be. What more? What more? You know, everybody's. I get a kick out of this. Like, Phil, just design something for me. I don't care. And then I'm like, I have fun with that. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's something I threw together for you. Like, well, that's nothing to what I was thinking. I'll go. Of course it wasn't. Right? And they're like, oh, okay, fine. I'll do the meeting now.
Yes. And but like, Phil and I are mainly talking very much about engineering and stuff, but I really want to dive into like and make sure people understand planning is everything for everybody. It doesn't matter whatsoever, because like I said, marketing.
College planning, picking the right college for your children, right? Working with them to pick out the college. I didn't plan it all, and it turned out okay, but could have been much better if I planned.
My big plan leading up to it was to get really good grades in middle school and high school. I did, and it worked out. I didn't properly plan, or I planned on the school, got accepted into every school that I got, that I applied to, and made it, and got to make my choice that way. And I'm bragging, yes, but like, my point is, I planned for that, so I put in all the preparation for that, so I set myself up for success to get into college. Anyway, and I don't want to dive into that aspect of it.